Good morning, everyone. This is your recorded Muckboots in the Capital update for Monday, April 28th, 2025. Your small farm mid-session update for the Oregon State Legislature with Friends of Family Farmers. As always, my name is Alice Morrison. I'm the co-executive director of Friends of Family Farmers, and I'm in charge of our policy and advocacy program. Today, we're going to give some updates on FOF's priority areas, including a very exciting thing that's coming up tomorrow, April 29th, woo, and talk about budget activism for the rest of the session and go over some key dates and deadlines that will take us between now and the end of our legislative session in June. So quickly, the first priority area for FOF is the state meat inspection program. We are pursuing additional FTE for the Department of Agriculture through HB 2164. This bill would add 2 FTE over the course of the biennium. We worked with ODA to craft this proposal because they need dedicated staff time for inspectors for the state meat inspection program. Because this was a new program and facilities are just now coming online after pretty extensive state investment in this program, the inspector positions were not included in CSL in the ODA budget. And due to some budget limitations this cycle, they were not able to be added. So we are bringing a separate policy bill to help ODA meet that goal. And that fiscal impact would be about $275,000 for each biennium. The fiscal statement that's attached to the bill has a quote for the 2025 to 2027 biennium and the 27 to 29. This is a little bit dependent on federal investment. We will see how that goes. But this bill has enjoyed some pretty broad support. It had a hearing in early February in House Agriculture, no registered opposition, passed unanimously out of that committee, and it was referred to Ways and Means, where all bills that have a price tag associated with them go, and it is sitting there now awaiting further action. We will be talking about ways to get involved with Ways and Means later in the presentation. Jesus. Great. Okay. Well, the most exciting thing that I have to share with you today is that our small farm water access bill, the commercial garden bill, as we're calling it, HB 3372A, because it has been amended, is moving forward, and we have a hearing tomorrow. But just as a refresher, what is in this bill? It was the amendment came through pretty late in the process during the House, its journey in the House. So to review the bill, we were supportive, continue to be supportive of this bill, and the Dash 5 amendment that was adopted by the House Ag Committee on April 9th. It would allow current exemptions to be used for commercial gardening. So right now in Oregon, you can irrigate a half acre with a domestic well for any personal purpose, lawn, like ornamental garden, food garden for yourself. But the moment that you sell anything that comes out of that water use is now illegal. But there's no current limit on that half acre of how much water you can use. And this has long been pointed to as kind of an inefficiency in the system. You can also use 5,000 gallons per day right now under current law for any single industrial or commercial purpose, but that excludes irrigation. That's the only type of commercial usage that is not allowed under the commercial exemption. So we helped our sponsor and champion, Representative Mark Owens, get together a solution that would solve the problem within the current exemptions and wouldn't require additional monitoring or registration or any of those things. So this bill would allow the half acre garden to be used in part or whole for commercial growing. You can determine, however, you want to use your half acre with a 3,000 gallon daily limit for irrigation, regardless of use. That is well and enough water for A half acre, if you look into the science and agronomy as recommended by sources like the OSU Ag College, 3,000 gallons is sufficient to grow pretty much anything you want on a half acre, and we think that's a very reasonable limit. You can also continue to use up to 5,000 gallons per day in commercial, as long as your irrigation plus your commercial adds up to 5,000 gallons. So essentially, you can use up to 3,000 gallons of water per day for irrigating your half acre, and then the remainder of that 5,000. So whatever you use on irrigation, 5,000 minus irrigation equals how much you have for commercial purposes, including um, wash and pack, making value added products, whatever else you want to do for your farm. So we think that that's a very reasonable solution. Great idea. Keeps everything within the current boundaries and provides people options. Cannabis is excluded as an eligible crop from this type of water usage. You would still need to get a water right or have a qualified exempt system to qualify for permitting for cannabis as a commercial crop. All right, the hearing was conducted in the House on April 7th. The work session was conducted in the House on April 9th. It passed out of the House Agriculture Committee, passed at a floor vote last week, and has been assigned to the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Wildfire. So that's where our bill is going in the Senate. And we have a Senate hearing scheduled for tomorrow, April 29th at 1 p.m. You can submit written testimony up to 48 hours after the hearing. This is an incredible opportunity. We're so excited that we get to speak on this bill again so soon. And you can submit that written testimony. Look out for action alerts from us, and check out the links in the description of this video if you're watching it on YouTube. And you can submit that up until May 1st at 1 p.m. So make sure to get your voice heard. And yeah, we're very, very excited about the progress of this bill and are very encouraged by getting a hearing so soon after the first chamber deadline. So that being said, number one priority for us right now is to have a great hearing in the Senate. I'm really excited about that, and you'll be hearing from us about it a lot, I'm sure. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is budget progress, because now that we've gotten past the first chamber deadline, many, many, many bills are now dead. So a lot of policy options are off the table, and a lot of budget options are sitting in Ways and Means waiting to be parsed through. And the Ways and Means Committee has the very difficult job of making choices that line up with the realities of our state budget and balancing that and making choices about which programs get funding, which programs do not, and in what amount. So we wanted to highlight one of our budget priorities that's not a FOF generated bill, but something we work on in coalition, and that's HB 2979. This bill is to renew the OCFSN Farmer Rancher Disaster Resilience Grant Fund, the OCFSN Food Hub Infrastructure and Worker Safety Fund, and the Oregon Farmers Market Association Climate Resilience Grant Funds. So these are incredibly popular and needed programs that were begun in 2023 with some state investment, and really serve all facets of our community food system to help us be more resilient to extreme weather conditions, unexpected and extreme storms and heat events and all of those kinds of things that can disrupt local supply chains and make it so that we don't need to rely on disaster relief aid in the future, that we're just a more resilient community and can weather that. So that bill passed unanimously out of the House Ag Committee in February. We had a really great hearing in the House. Thank you to everyone who was involved, and thank you to the hundreds of people who submitted written testimony. It is sitting in Ways and Means, just like our meat inspection bill. That is where all of the things that cost money are going. And thank you so much to everyone who submitted testimony during the roadshow period. That testimony option did close on Sunday, the 27th at 5 p.m. So thank you so much for helping put us on the record there and making sure that this is a priority in the eyes of the Ways and Means Committee, and that we are registering as a program that has a lot of community support. Keep an eye out for opportunities to stand up for this program in the future. So in addition to 2164, our state meat inspection bill, and 2979, the food system resilience grant funds, we are going to be issuing a budget letter in mid-May that covers some other budget priority areas for FOF as well that we believe strengthen our community food system and provide really key services and funding. So those bills include Food for All, because there's a lot of really robust data to suggest that this type of food assistance not only benefits the people who receive it, but also recirculates more money in community and has a larger impact on rural and agricultural communities and their economies and prosperity than those in urban spaces. So we are very much in support of that bill. We also are in support of Double Up Food Bucks as included in the Oregon Department of Human Services budget. This is a SNAP matching program for farmers markets, farm stands, CSAs, and some grocery stores. It is an excellent way for us to get more money into our farmers' pockets, while also opening the local food system to folks who might not have had access due to cost barriers, or who are being introduced to these options for the first time. And that is an incredible program, should absolutely continue. We support its inclusion there. We are also supportive of Farm to School in both the Oregon Department of Agriculture budget for the equipment and infrastructure grant program there, and the actual Farm to School budget for local food purchasing in the ODE budget, the Department of Education budget, and we'll continue to stand up for those programs. And we are also going to continue to talk about our need to preserve our farmland. So Oregon Agricultural Heritage Program, its inclusion in the OWEB budget, the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board budget, but also the House bill that would increase investment in that so that we are not leaving money on the table for projects that are ready to go here in Oregon. And we're preserving our farmland for production for and conservation-minded production for the future as well. All right, so we will be issuing a budget letter, really making the case for small food, for small farms and community food systems, and highlighting these programs that we believe have the biggest impact. It will be released after the May 14th revenue forecast. We want to include prioritization for programs after knowing what is going to happen in that revenue forecast. That is the last revenue forecast during the legislative session and is used as kind of the basis for policy recommendations and building that budget reconciliation bill. So look forward to opportunities to speak up about the need for funding for these programs. And if you are in a district where your representative or senator serves on one of the Ways and Means subcommittees, look out for us maybe reaching out to you, asking you for your input or to speak with your legislator about this. And looking ahead, just to give folks an idea of the timeline of the rest of the session, May 9th is the second chamber work session scheduling deadline. So much like we had in the House, where we had to have our bill on the agenda by a certain date, that date for the second chamber. So if your bill started in the House, goes to the Senate, then you would have your Senate hearing has to be on the agenda for that committee, the hearing and the work session by the end of the day on May 9th. Same thing if you start in the Senate and go to the House. But and then May 14th, as we said on the previous slide, is the deadline for the revenue forecast. So that is what the Ways and Means Committee will be looking at and seeing, like, okay, how much state money is going to be available. That also will be tempered by any additional federal cuts that we might see to human services programs. But hey, we don't know what's going to happen. I think that speculation is not helpful in that arena at this moment. So kind of a wait and see on that. May 23rd is the second chamber committee vote deadline. That is when you get your hearing and work session scheduled by May 9th. It must be completed by the end of the day on May 23rd. So that's another hoop that we have to jump through. And then after May 23rd, then all the bills that are still alive, either in Ways and Means or Rules, or what have you, or have passed out of that policy committee, any of the policy committees by May 23rd, then they'll go to kind of the end of session race toward the end, where there's floor votes every day, and they're really getting the nitty-gritty worked out. The target sine die or end of the session is June 18th. And that is, we've been hearing that is, cross your fingers, when the session will actually end. They're really focused on getting things done by that time. But constitutionally, they do have to have that completed by June 29th. That is the absolute last day. So the session will end in June regardless, but they're shooting for June 18th. It has to be done by June 29th. It could end any day in between there as well. All right, that is the end of my update. Please look out for opportunities to speak up on our commercial garden domestic well bill, and wish us luck in the hearing tomorrow and hope everything goes well.